My name is Muhammad Habba, and I am the Development Director with American Muslims for Palestine. Today, we are joined here, American Muslims for Palestine, CAIR, the U.S. Council of Muslim Organizations, CODEPINK, and numerous other organizations that are here to discuss the upcoming meetings and the trip this week of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. As you all know, the genocide in Gaza has lasted since October of 2023, now over 21 months into this genocide with countless lives lost and unfathomable destruction. We've seen in the past few weeks this genocide extend and expand, with more than 100 people dying each day in Gaza as the brutality of the Israeli military continues. Today, Benjamin Netanyahu will be meeting with President Trump, and our organizations are here to discuss this meeting, to talk about what is needed for the people of Gaza and what is needed for the people of Palestine. Our first speaker is Dr. Osama Abu Rashed, the Executive Director of American Muslims for Palestine.
Thank you, Muhammad. Good morning. For the past 21 months, Israel has been committing a brutal genocide in the Gaza Strip with unwavering American support. 7 of those months under the presidency of Donald Trump. Today, Trump meets with internationally wanted war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House to discuss a temporary ceasefire in Gaza. Perhaps Trump seeks to end the genocide in pursuit of a Nobel Peace Prize, although those complicit in genocidal wars are never deserving of such honors. Yet, if Trump truly wishes to bring an end to the Israeli campaign of extermination and systematic starvation against Gaza, backed by U.S. support, he must first act like a president of the United States. He must assert unequivocally to Netanyahu who holds the reins in their dynamic. Over the past 7 months, Netanyahu has proven he can outmaneuver Trump just as he did with Joe Biden. In fact, he has succeeded in dragging Trump into a war against Iran. Today, Trump stands at a pivotal juncture in his presidency. He must choose between demonstrating the strength he so often proclaims or resigning himself to the role of yet another figure manipulated by Netanyahu. President Trump recently announced that Israel has supposedly accepted the necessary conditions for a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza. This ceasefire must not be another mirage. Israel has already shattered previous agreements and launched renewed bombings campaigns during supposed pauses. Any legitimate ceasefire must be honored in full without loopholes or backdoor military operations. Trump must publicly and unequivocally demand that Netanyahu agree to an immediate, unconditional, and permanent ceasefire. No loopholes, no staged pauses. Should Israel once again breach its ceasefire commitment, it's long past time for the United States to cease playing the role of diplomatic shield and begin imposing real consequences. After nearly 2 years of relentless genocide, well over 60,000 Palestinians, and this is a moderate estimate, have been confirmed to be slaughtered in Gaza, including more than 500 just this last month while seeking aid. The Palestinian people cannot afford another round of false promises, manufactured delays, or deceptive ceasefire schemes decide to justify continued killing under the guise of diplomacy. Humanitarian aid must flow through the United Nations and international humanitarian agencies, not under the so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which has become nothing short of a death trap for starving civilians. The Israeli newspaper Haaretz has exposed GHF as a US and Israeli-backed front for ethnic cleansing operation. According to the report, Israeli forces have killed over 549 Palestinians and injured more than 4,000 at food distribution points, using live fire, tank shells, and mortars to create killing fields. Palestinians must not be made to choose between hunger and death. Any genuine humanitarian corridor must comply with the principles of humanity, impartiality, and independence and neutrality. If President Trump is serious about ending this genocide, his administration must stop funding the mercenary-backed GHF, open all crossings for UN aid, and force Israel to lift its inhumane blockade on food, water, medicine, and fuel in compliance with both US and international humanitarian laws. Furthermore, no foreign entity, neither Israel, the US, nor regional governments, has the legal or moral right to dictate Gaza's future. Only the Palestinian people can decide their future, their political future, and only them can rebuild their homeland on their own terms. Any attempt to exclude Palestinians from those negotiations or to impose a Western-designed post-war framework is a continuation of colonial violence. This moment is pivotal. The US cannot continue underwriting Israel's war crimes and gaslighting the world with empty ceasefire headlines, and must start taking accountability and let Palestinians live with dignity. This is not a time for vague diplomacy or half measures. Over 60,000 Palestinians have been murdered by Israel. Mass starvation is no longer hypothetical. It is a harrowing reality unfolding before our eyes. Gaza's hospitals are in ruin. The Israeli military has turned food lines into execution zones. Every day that passes without real action and accountability is another day of bloodshed. Every time we hear of a possible ceasefire, Israel undermines it and continues its relentless killing spree. Enough is enough. This is the third visit of Benjamin Netanyahu to the White House. The past two visits, Netanyahu was able to play Donald Trump. The past two visits, Netanyahu established a known fact that he is the real boss when it comes to this White House, whether under Democrats or Republican. Every time Netanyahu, since Bill Clinton, has proven time and again that he can outmaneuver, he can manipulate our presidents as our Congress. Enough is enough. America is a complete partner in the genocide that is taking place in Gaza. America is not a neutral party. Trump is not a mediator. Trump is a partner in this genocide. He has to bring himself to end this genocide, as he has to force Netanyahu to bring this genocide to an end. Because again, enough is enough. The so-called big, beautiful spending bill that he just passed is infringing on Americans' rights, taking away from our Medicare, from the benefits to the poor, while we're giving to Israel, where every Israeli citizen is enjoying a free health care at the expense of the American people. Why the American people are dying and have no access to health care. Enough is enough. It is time to restore America as he promised America's first. But America is no longer first under this president. He is lying, as the previous presidents have been lying. Time to prioritize the United States of America and to prioritize human dignity, human life in this genocide. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Osama. Our next speaker.
I was asked to put here. Yes, okay, thank you.
Our next speaker is Robert McCaw from CAIR.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Good morning. My name is Robert McCaw. I am the Government Affairs Director for the Council on American-Islamic Relations. We are not here to welcome a guest. We are here to expose a war criminal. We're here because our government behind us is rewarding genocide with weapons, with money, and with silence. President Trump promised to end unnecessary foreign entanglements, claiming that he would be the president of peace, that only he could deliver a ceasefire to Gaza, a ceasefire that Netanyahu broke. Yet, standing inside the White House today is Benjamin Netanyahu, a wanted war criminal with his blood-soaked hands not outstretched in remorse, but to demand more bombs, more weapons, and more U.S. complicity. Every handshake, every deal, every photo op stains with American leaders, stains the hands of all Americans with the blood of children from Gaza. The International Criminal Court has issued a warrant for Netanyahu's arrest for his war crimes, for his crimes against humanity, for the destruction of Gaza. But instead of being held accountable, he's being embraced by the very country supplying him these bombs. This is not a diplomatic visit. This is a disgrace, and this is not what some people are calling a victory lap. Not while children are starving in Gaza. Not while babies are wasting away without formula. People are saying that Gaza is on the brink of starvation. No, Gaza is starving. I have seen the dead children, emaciated, wasted. It's happening now. And not while Israeli forces are bombing birthday parties with American-made weapons. Just days ago, a 500-pound Mk-82 bomb manufactured here in the United States, sold to Netanyahu recently under a $510 million approved deal by President Trump, was dropped on a crowded cafe in Gaza during a children's birthday party. Over 40 were killed. Women, children, entire families blown apart. And as we just heard, hundreds of people every day are dying in Gaza. This is what American foreign policy looks like. This is what our tax dollars are funding. We should be outraged. This is what happens when you put the weapons in the hands of war criminals and call it support. And that is why we're here today, because it's about to get worse. This is not self-defense. This is genocide. And Netanyahu is not a negotiator of peace. He's here to beg for B-2 bombers and bunker busters, weapons capable of leveling underground facilities and igniting our regional inferno, and this administration's listening. Just 2 weeks ago, the Trump administration joined Netanyahu in launching an illegal, unauthorized attack on Iran's facilities. It was carried out against the advice of the U.S. intelligence community and without any imminent threat. Congress never approved it, the Constitution never authorized it, and it was a political stunt dressed up as military strategy, and it dragged us one step closer to a catastrophic war. And now, Netanyahu is back a third time, demanding more weapons, more blood, and more American complicity. This is not defense. This is not a deterrence. So this is what we're demanding here today. First, a full, immediate, and unconditional ceasefire. No more pauses, no more temporary deals, a real end to the real slaughter. Netanyahu broke the first ceasefire without American response. It cannot happen again. Second, unrestricted humanitarian access to all of Gaza, including through the Rafah Gate. That means baby formula. That means medical supplies, fuel, construction materials, not just for survival, but for dignity. And third, the United States must end all involvement in the so-called Gaza Humanitarian Aid Foundation and investigate its role for the mass killings of Palestinians seeking aid. American mercenaries are now accused of shooting starving civilians, and they must be prosecuted. And fourth, any post-war future for Gaza must be decided by the Palestinians, not by Netanyahu, not by Trump, and not by a foreign occupation. There can be no peace while the bombs are still falling. There can be no justice while war criminals are making deals in D.C. and getting handouts from American taxpayers. And there can be no credibility for America while we bankroll genocide. Congress must act to cancel all weapons sales. Our nation needs to cut off the money and end our complicity in crimes that will haunt our country for generations. We're here to draw a line. No more bombs, no more blood, no more genocide, no more occupation, and no more apartheid. Not in our name. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Our next speaker is Sara from the Palestinian Youth Movement.
Good morning. I'm a member of the Palestinian Youth Movement, a transnational, independent grassroots organization of Palestinian and Arab youth in the diaspora fighting for the liberation of our land from Zionism and imperialism. Today will be the third time that Benjamin Netanyahu meets with President Trump while in office, and his fourth visit to the United States since the beginning of the US-Israeli genocide in Gaza. This will also be his third trip to the US since the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for Netanyahu for his war crimes committed in Gaza. Netanyahu belongs in The Hague and not in Washington, D.C., where Trump and top US officials are rolling out the red carpet for him once again. He's also here escaping testimony for his corruption trial, which Trump denounced, and Netanyahu is here evading accountability from his own government, attempting to influence the case from abroad. However, we know that Netanyahu is not the problem and not the sole corrupt actor, but he is a symptom and a manifestation of an oppressive system, and he represents Zionism in all of its forms, and he has demonstrated to the world the evils of this depraved ideology and how it manifests. We see clearly with each of Netanyahu's visits how he and the White House conspire to advance Zionist and imperialist interests, not only in Palestine, but in the region. Their collusion comes at a great cost to human life, with estimates of over 200,000 murdered in Gaza. And their collaboration also attacks the sovereignty of nations like Iran, Lebanon, Yemen, and Syria, and ignores the calls of the American people to end these endless wars and enact an arms embargo on Israel. We witnessed the coordination between Israel and the US to bomb Iran, and their lies spread about the Iranian nuclear program in an attempt to manufacture consent for this aggression. However, the American people recognized these lies for what they were and demanded US hands off of Iran, an arms embargo on Israel, and for politicians to stop spending frivolously on these wars, on these endless wars of aggression, and instead to focus on the plights of the American people who desire healthcare, education, and sound public infrastructure. In the lead up to this meeting, we have seen reports on the Abraham Shield and normalization deals, which we know are designed to stifle the popular will of the Arab masses. These plans aim to fundamentally alter the political, social, and economic conditions of the region to become subservient to imperial and Zionist interests and undermine the sovereignty of the Arab people. These normalization deals come at the expense of Arab nations to protect their interests, calling for disarmament, security corridors, and coordination, transfer of control of Gaza to outside countries, and dissolution of social institutions that foster the people's resistance to imperialism and Zionism in the region. This is the US and Israel attempting to erase any form of resistance to their aggressions as they steal more Arab land and Arab wealth. What the past 21 months of genocide have taught us is that the US and Israeli Zionist ruling class have the same interests. Any supposed division is superficial. This genocide could not have continued, and Israel would have collapsed without continued diplomatic, political, financial, and military support from the US. They both support the project of imperialism. It is both of their war on the Palestinian and Arab people. They both are looking to undermine the sovereignty of our people in the Middle East and people here in the United States. They work in opposition to the interests of the people of the world. while millions of Americans are struggling to survive, to pay their rent, and to take care of their loved ones. Their tax dollars are being stolen from them by the US government and by these imperial actors to fund and greenlight a genocide. Each US manufactured bomb dropped in Palestine, in Lebanon, in Syria, in Iraq, and in Yemen, and in Iran lined the pockets of the ruling class in this country instead of improving the livelihood of millions. And as a movement here in the United States and in the imperial core, we have a responsibility to counter these deals and to confront these meetings and expose these plans for what they truly are. We have a responsibility to stand with our people in Gaza and across the region as they face the brutality of Zionism and Western hegemony, and to demand and achieve an arms embargo on Israel. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Medea Benjamin from CODEPINK.
I don't know how people ignore what's been happening in Gaza. I guess they don't wake up like many of us do to look at how many people have been killed the night before. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 people in Gaza. I guess they don't look at the pictures of the starving children. It boggles the mind to think that we have been witnessing this for so many months, and the failures of our international institutions, the failure of the Arab countries, the failure, of course, of our own government, which is so complicit in this. And it's not just a slogan to say that Netanyahu belongs in The Hague and not here in the White House or here meeting with our Secretary of Defense, Hegseth, or in Congress where he will be tomorrow. He belongs in The Hague. That's what the International Criminal Court says. And if we believe at all in any kind of rules-based order, he should be in The Hague. In respect to the ceasefire that he's supposed to be negotiating right now, of course the people of Gaza are desperate for a ceasefire. We are desperate for a ceasefire. But how can you trust Israel that has violated every ceasefire agreement that it has made with the Palestinians? How can you trust a country that's been starving children? How can you trust a country that's been violating the ceasefire with Lebanon every day since the ceasefire was signed? How can you trust a country that unprovoked invaded Iran, a country without nuclear weapons, while Israel and the US are the ones with the nuclear weapons? It's hard to have any faith in that. And a ceasefire is just the bare minimum. I have been to Gaza many times and saw way before October 7th the desperation of the people there because of the blockade, because of the siege. There was a 45% unemployment rate, not because the people of Gaza are not entrepreneurial, but because they couldn't import and export. Students couldn't leave the country to take advantage of scholarships they had. People could not leave when they desperately needed hospitalization in other countries. This siege of Gaza has meant that fishermen trying to fish would be killed as they went out trying to bring home fish for their families. The siege, the blockade has to end. And then we also have to talk about who is being represented by this White House and by Congress. It is quite amazing that despite the mainstream media, that the majority of American people now do not support Israel. And this goes across all ages. Before it was just younger people who understood what was happening. Now it's all age groups. It's Republicans, Democrats, independents, it's blacks, it's whites, it's all demographics in the United States. They don't want to keep sending money and bombs to Israel. And yet, who is doing that? The people in the White House and the vast majority of people in Congress. They are representing the weapons industry, the tech industry. They are representing the lobby groups like AIPAC. And when they say America first, it is a lie, because sending billions and billions of our dollars to a genocidal regime is not America first. So we are here to say, send Netanyahu to The Hague, end the blockade of Gaza, and end the complicity with our U.S. government with a genocidal regime. Start representing the American people, not Israel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Medea. Our next speaker is Reverend Hagler.
But it's important for me to be here. My voice is very weak, but it's important for me to be here. I'm Pastor Emeritus of Plymouth Congregational United Church of Christ, and also Senior Advisor to the Fellowship of Reconciliation, USA. Obviously, peace comes not through compromise, but by standing up for the principles that lead to peace. 60,000 deaths is unacceptable under any circumstances, and the majority of the U.S. population stand against Israel and in favor of a complete ceasefire, not a temporary one, but a complete one. The politicians are representing somebody other than the American voters, because we want the bombs to stop, the starvation to stop, from the genocide to stop. We can't accept anything less. If we believe in justice, and if we believe in peace, there has to be justice for Palestinians. And the only way you get to there is by creating a just situation where Palestinians have the right of self-determination and dignity and the ability to live without oppression by Israel or the U.S. or anyone. So we stand saying today that Netanyahu doesn't belong in the White House, but he belongs in jail for the murder of 60,000 Palestinians and the continued oppression of people in the West Bank and the bombing of Iran and the destabilization that Israel and its government has caused in the region. We can remind folks, and we need to, that Israel is not righteous, but it stands at this point on the side of evil, when it stands on the side of the Holocaust that's taking place in Gaza. God bless.
Thank you, Reverend Hagler. Our final speaker of the day is Rabbi David Feldman.
Thank you very much. We are standing here in front of the White House while Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, is visiting here. This happens after 21 months of genocide in Gaza, where tens of thousands of innocent men, women, and children are being mass murdered, and little children are being starved to death. This is about time to stop. The world is waking up already for this entire time, and it is time for the rest of the world to wake up. We as Jewish people, when we are seeing what's happening, when all of this is happening supposedly in our name, this is embarrassing to us as a people, and this is a desecration of our religion when the Jewish religion is being misused. to justify all these crimes. Netanyahu comes here supposedly representing all Jews, and he wants to make a statement that if you oppose crimes he is committing, then you are opposing the Jewish people, which ends up being anti-Semitic. This is misleading, and all of us, the world, has to understand. We have to know better. This is nothing about anti-Semitism. This is about crimes taking place. Benjamin Netanyahu, a war criminal, wanted by the International Court. As was said before, he doesn't belong in the White House, he belongs in The Hague. According to Judaism, all of this is wrong. Killing, stealing, oppressing an entire people, these are not only crimes in international law, these are crimes in Judaism. We have to remember that anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism in any way. Judaism and Zionism is not the same. Judaism is a religion, while Zionism is a purely political movement, should never be conflated. When you conflate the two, you are not only doing an injustice to Palestine when you are silencing the voice of the righteous to speak up for the oppressed, but this is doing wrong for the Jewish people as well, because this is making a statement as if all Jews are accountable to what is happening. What is going on is destructive to everyone. It's a Nakba, it's a catastrophe for Palestine, and it's a danger for the Jewish people. Netanyahu is not here for a self-defense of the Jewish people. This movement of Zionism is offensive from day one. This is criminal from day one. This is doing so much harm to humanity from day one, and this needs to stop. We are here demanding a ceasefire, not this ceasefire that we were experiencing for the past months. As was said before, Israel is not to be trusted with a ceasefire. We need to have an end to all of these crimes. We plead with the United States of America. We plead for an arms embargo now. This was supposed to happen a long time ago. We want to see all of this stop. We want to see this stop for the sake of everyone involved, to restore peace that did exist in Palestine. We as Jewish people lived in Palestine before the 1920s, before the movement of Zionism. Contrary to Zionist propaganda, all what we are seeing, this endless cycle of bloodshed where everyone suffers, this is not because of a difference of religions. We had differences of religions for the longest time. It is the crimes of Israel, it is the occupation of Palestine, which is unfortunately causing this destruction to everyone. This needs to stop. We hope this stops immediately, and we hope to see very soon a better future for everyone involved. Palestine deserves freedom. Palestine deserves a better future. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all our distinguished speakers. I would now like to open it up for any questions from the media. If there are no questions, feel free to connect with our speakers afterwards. Once again, American Muslims for Palestine is a national organization that is dedicated to advancing the movement for justice in Palestine here in the United States. We thank you all for your participation, and please, we ask you all to keep up with our upcoming statements and our upcoming actions. There will be a protest here tonight, co-organized by American Muslims for Palestine and others that will be protesting the meeting later on today. That will be at 6 p.m. for those who would like to join. Once again, thank you all for joining, and you have a wonderful day.